Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, so we realized we are about to open up a gym, but I don't know that we've ever shared how this dream even started for us in one sitting with you guys. And so we figured that this was the appropriate time to do that. We wanted to get the founder shares post out of the way, but now we want to tell you guys, where did this dream even come from? Where did we come from? What business do we have opening up a gym? Yeah, we wanted to take you guys through that. So I'm going to go ahead and let Steve start that off because the dream was planted in his heart. I've just been along for the ride and have slowly been woven into the story to the extent where I am as involved as I am now.
Yeah, she's been much more than just along for the ride. Yeah, because I know a lot of you guys know know us, know either myself or Andrea, but very few of you know how all this began. So we wanted to just take an opportunity to share that with you. So even fewer of you know that I used to be a high school English teacher. And I got into education, graduated in 2009 with my bachelor's degree in secondary ed. I was a high school English teacher for about 6.5 years. But long story short, I knew I was not long for the public education world. I just saw a trajectory was going on. So I immediately started thinking of, okay, what are my options here? So I decided, you know what? I'll go to grad school. I'll get my MBA and I'll figure out what it looks like to maybe work in a business environment for a while. And maybe that'll spark something in me where I'll be able to take those skills and leverage them into, at some point, operating my own business. But I had no idea what that was. There wasn't anything I was particularly passionate about or skilled at the time. This was just honestly a huge gamble. Really. I had just finished paying off my undergrad loans, and here I was now adding graduate loans onto my, what's up, dude? Onto my, debt sheet. But towards the end of my time in getting my MBA, I had been doing CrossFit for about 7 years at that point. So I started in late 09, and this is 2016 when I graduated. But the semester before I graduated, I was taking this entrepreneurship class. And I remember our professor asked us, he said, for those of you, who aren't working for a company and, are wanting to do their own thing, but you don't know what it is. I was like, you're talking directly to me. He gave us this challenge. He said, listen, when you go home today and, start thinking about this, he said, pay attention to the things you think about last before you go to sleep and the things that you think about first when you wake up in the morning. He said, be mindful of those two things, because if those two things are the same thing, you might want to start thinking about whether or not that could be something you pursue. And I was like, okay. So I started paying attention to what I would think about last when I went to bed and first when I woke up. And it was always the gym. And I had gotten really involved at my gym. I was going every day almost, multiple times. I wasn't coaching or training, but I loved seeing the progressions that people would be able to work through. I loved helping people, even though I wasn't actually a coach. I just made myself available. Andrea and I had met a couple of years before this point, and we just fell in love with one another's fitness journeys. She came in, and I initially thought that she was just gonna quit after a month. I'd seen, a lot of different people who tried CrossFit, but then she beat me at a workout a month in, and I was like, who is this girl? And the rest of that story sort of wrote itself. So we sort of fell in love with this process of seeing one another get better. Our our nutrition journey, sort of got piled onto that as we started to just really refine and hone in, just making better decisions. That's really what it became all about. whether it was moving better, whether
I
it
think
was...
if anyone keeps watching this video, they're here for Owen.
Yeah, I agree. He's the star. Right, buddy?
He is just loving this story. Sorry. Babe.
But yeah, it's all good. But you know what? Andrea and I, we were really, really blessed. We had incredible coaches at our old gym.
Truly.
Who just really drove, especially the head coach who, you know, I openly refer to him as sort of like a mentor figure to me, both as a coach, and even now as a business operator, since he opened his own gym 4 years ago, Rise Fitness, shameless plug. You know, we had really excellent coaches who taught us, you know, to move with intention and virtuosity, to pursue virtuous movement in everything that we did, always refining, always going back to the basics, right? And I fell in love with that process. So when I fast forward back to after grad school and, you know, thinking about this, I immediately dismissed it. Because I was just like, well, I'm not a gym guy. Like, I've fallen in love with this, but this is just fun. But for about 3 months of ignoring it, and it would just keep nagging me and nagging me and nagging me, and it would not leave me alone. So for the first time, after about 3 months of thinking about it, I finally decided, I said, okay, I've got to share this with somebody. And Andrea was the person who was the closest one in my life at that point. So I shared it with her. I said, hey, what do you think of me someday opening up a gym?
I was like, of course, you'd be great.
It went like
but
that.
I honestly meant it.
Yeah, no, and it did go like that.
But I was also an obsessed girlfriend who thought he'd be great at anything he did, but I saw it for sure. I will just like add this in. At the gym, he is, I mean, if you know Steve, at the gym, and if he's coached you, or even if you've just like ever worked out with him, he's the greatest cheerleader. So to me, a coach, and he also like moves with excellence, and he appreciates the good coaching. But really for me, I was just like, yeah, like everyone deserves to have a Steve Smith behind their lift, because I attribute even my success and like my fitness journey to just having him right there, just being like, yeah, you did that, and come on, Dre. So yeah, when he asked me that, of course I saw it for sure.
I feel like I need to make that make sense to people. Like, Andrea is pound for pound probably the second strongest person I know in person. She will outlift any of you fellas. But anyway, so, you know, I shared it with her because I was looking for any excuse really to just be like, that ain't it, you know? But when I received that affirmation, I said, okay, now I've got to pay more serious attention to this. And I started to share it with like bigger and bigger circles, or bigger and bigger like spheres of influence, wider spheres of influence. And the ultimate decision for me was when I went to the owner of our gym at the time, because I said, all right, if I'm going to do this, then I want to learn how to be an excellent coach. I want to learn the back end. I want to learn all the ins and outs of what it looks like to operate a gym. And I felt like the gym that I was going to at that point was the best environment to do it. It was the first CrossFit gym ever in New Jersey. The general manager was that mentor, coach of mine, and the owner was excellent at training new coaches as well, because, you know, and he fostered that sort of environment. So when I went to him and I said, hey, you know, listen, I have this dream that I've just recognized, that I think I want to open up my own gym someday. And I feel like there's no better place to cut my teeth at what that would look like than here, to learn how to coach, to learn how to do admin work and all that stuff. And this was the end of 2017. And really all this got launched at that point because his response to me was, oh, 100% yes. You're exactly the kind of person that I would love to have represent my gym as a coach. And he said, but one caveat. He said, when you're ready to open your gym, we do it as partners. And I was sort of floored that he would even consider saying that to me.
Yeah.
But that really is what just propelled this.
Yeah, I don't think he realizes the life he gave to like this, that he breathed on this
Multiple
dream.
times. So he spoke life into me 2 different times, unbeknownst to him, and I'll always be eternally grateful for that. But yeah, so anyway, so that's what launched this. To fast forward, a little bit, we almost opened up a gym together, and for various reasons, build out was too expensive, et cetera, we moved on from a location that we had a lease drawn up for back in 2018. For so many reasons, thank you, Lord, I was not ready to operate a gym.
Ready.
We would still be operating under that lease right now. It was a 10-year lease pre-COVID, and by the grace of God, that did not work out.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened, and life just became a roller coaster at that point. But now, here we are. The rest of you mostly know the story from this point, especially once, getting plugged in with Transform Church and, getting involved in Men's Transform, and Andrea, starting up the co-op, and us just, getting plugged into, our people. And that process of now, I feel like we were ready to operate the gym, but there was so much character work that God had to do on us over the last 4 or 5 years before we could ever be considered reliable stewards of a dream that he had given me. But now, as Andrea said, she's been sort of woven into this, because there are pillars of our identity, of how we see this gym, that the gym does not function without Andrea being an integral part of that. And that's with the involvement of, getting women who are pregnant and expecting or postpartum, and teaching them how to have life again in their bodies, but also the portion of our gym where we want to be able to invite families to bring their children along board. This gym really does not operate without her being a part of it now with me. She is officially, legally, our CEO. But yeah.
I don't even know what that means.
Chief Encouragement Officer.
I can handle that.
Means you are the BOSS, the boss.
So yeah, how do you feel about owning your own business with that aspect?
It's funny because
we don't come from families that we're business owners.
Yeah.
We don't have people in our
entrepreneurial.
life that we saw doing this.
Yeah.
So yeah, talk us through how you're.
Well, it's funny, a little anecdote is I never really knew what I wanted to do with my life. Even in school, I was always good at everything. Math, I was good at. English, I was good at. History, I was good at. And I would just sort of coast on being good at everything. So I never really applied myself. I was always good at sports, but I was never passionate about any one particular thing. And I had this perceived idea in my head that I lacked discipline. So I was I'm going to go to the Marine Corps. So that I can get discipline put on me. And it was on that journey of training with Marines where, I was introduced to CrossFit in the first place. And, because that was back in 2008.
It's just dawning on me that even that was not wasted.
No, none of it is wasted. God don't waste a thing.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I remember I walked into the sergeant's office. He was down in Rutgers, New Brunswick. They had a Marine Corps officer candidate school office because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to wait until I graduated and again join the Marine Corps officer training school. And I said, hey, I'm going to date myself a little bit here, so don't laugh. I said, what do you think of P90X? I was really frustrated with the gains I was getting at the regular gym that my buddy was going to with me at Montclair State. I wasn't progressing quickly enough. So I wanted a get fit quick thing. I was always athletic, but I wasn't strong. Shut up.
I'm just envisioning you in your little Bloomfield apartment doing P90X.
I never did it, thank God. And the sergeant told me, he said, go find a CrossFit gym. I said, what the heck is CrossFit? This is '09. Nobody was really doing it at the time. And I went home. I lived in Bloomfield by the Home Depot, and I looked up CrossFit, and I found the only gym I'd ever been a member at. And it was right up the road in Montclair, and I went and I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
But I didn't see myself as a gym owner, right? Because of the reasons I said before. I thought gym owners were people that like got exercise science degrees. They'd been going to the gym since they were like Owen's age. You know, they were like power lifters or former collegiate athletes. Those were gym owners to me. And it really was only through the process of like sharing, incrementally, like thinking more and more, like what would this actually look like? And realizing like, oh, like my whole personality is geared towards doing something like this. And it took a lot of like getting out of my own way to even be okay with saying, yeah, I could see myself doing this. And now nothing else makes sense to me. Doing anything else doesn't make sense to me, because at the end of the day, what I've understood about the gym and businesses like it is you're in the business of people.
Yeah.
And if you love people and want to see people get better and want to see people's lives improve, in whatever environment that is, then man, go for it in that thing. And that to me is what the idea of owning and operating a gym has become. Now tie God's purpose in our life into that. And that sort of, blows the ceiling off of, limitations around what we can possibly do with this business. Because once he gets involved, then, really all bets are off. So in terms of what I think about owning a gym, like you said, it's sort of like it was always lined up to go this way.
Yeah.
In a weird, non-mystical way. Anything else?
No, that was like a very long answer to my question, but I think you answered it. I guess,
We got to hear your story. But I took up 15 minutes, so.
Yeah, so we can hear my story another day. Part 2. Come back for part 2.
Yeah. Hey, Owen. See you guys. I love you.
Great job.